Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another guide. This time it's for the equipment guide. I know this has been requested quite a bit, and we're finally getting to it right now. So, what is equipment? Equipment are these things that you produce. So, I have these boots and these helmets being produced. I don't have enough platinum right now, so that's why I'm not building anything. But if I did have platinum, I would be making these swords, these axes, and these staves, diamond staves. All right, so why do you need equipment? Equipment is for passive adventure. And if you want to get a little bit more of extra AXS, you can get it from the Homeland leaderboard. So a lot of people want to get AXS. So we mentioned this before, like each of these ancient coins is equivalent to 1 MAXS. So divide this by 1,000 and this will become AXS. So this is 75 AXS if you get first. But this is the land of the whales. People with multiple mystic axes, multiple origins, multiple collectibles, and they have level 10 plots and everything. So realistically, most people would want to fight within this territory down here. Personally, I aim for top 50 on my main plot and then top 100 on the subplot. So this is my ideal range for the equipment or the axes that I have. And if you're starting out, this might be more realistic, the top 101 to 200, right? If you don't make it to top 200, don't worry, you still get gold, you'll still get equipment, so it's still better to aim for points regardless. But anyway, if you want more information on that, I have a separate video. I'll link it in the description of the video, so please check that out. But let's focus on the equipment. All right, so why do you need equipment? Equipment will boost the stats of your axes. So for example, this axis is already fully equipped if we removed all of this. So it was 3.1 million, right? Right now it is, without any equipment, it's 2.3 million. So an extra 800 900k bonus, depending on the axis, of course, the collectible that you have. They will get a lot of stat. So it depends on the class, the type of equipment that you will use. So I will go over the recommendations for each section. So let's start off with the weapons. So it depends on the class because this is a plant class. This is known as a guardian. So this can only equip hammers, hammers and axes on the main hand, and on the offhand it can equip axes or shields. Now, based on my experience, it's always better to equip shields on a guardian than to have two axes, because even if you have two axes, they're still going to be slow and they won't do as much damage as an actual DPS. All right, so this is my recommendation. Have an axe on the main hand, a shield, and then the rest of these. It's always recommended to use plat in your weapon slot. If you cannot produce platinum, steel is okay. If you're running to top 100 and you're not using platinum, it's very unlikely that you will reach your goal. Platinum is required for top 50 and top 100. If you're not using platinum, you're not gonna make it. All right, so if you're using a reptile, use 2 platinum swords. Do not use axes, because axes will slow down your axe. So right now it does plus 3,480, right? And if we put this, it halves the attacks, and attack speed is very important for majority of the lower floors. If you can kill your opponents before they can damage you, they won't deal damage. Funny how that works, right? But yeah, you want to kill your opponents before they can act. That's why attack speed is super important. Now in the higher floors, you cannot one-shot the opponent, so they will likely be able to attack you and damage you, but that's a discussion for a different time. Now for birds, it's basically the same thing, equipped to platinum swords. For beasts, it's the same thing as well, equip platinum swords. If you're using dawns, it's also the same thing, use platinum swords. Now those are the tier A and the tier S classes. If you are using an aqua or a dusk, then you have no choice. You have to put a staff on the main hand and the shield on the offhand. Okay, and I think that's about it. We're not talking about bugs, because bugs can only use bombs in their, or shells rather, in their weapon slots, and this basically does nothing. Equip red types of red bombs and it does nothing, unfortunately. Never use bugs, guys. Never ever use bugs. Never use them, please. For your own scores, never use bugs. Okay, Now that we're done with the weapon slots, let's go over the armors. Now, based on my testing, chainmails are great. These plate mails are not as great. Now, as you can see, it lowers the attacks. And like I mentioned earlier, attack speed is king in this game. Your only choices for armor is either platinum chainmail or a steel. That's literally the only thing that is worth using. Now, if someone can show me results of them getting really good results with other types of armor, please let me know. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to update my information, but just based on my personal testing, chainmails are the absolute best because they provide a lot of HP, a lot of armor, and it actually boosts your attack speed on top of it. Now, obviously, this is a little too much. This is more realistic, right? This is more realistic, but chainmails are the best. So again, please let me know if someone can show me some stats of other armor outperforming chainmail. Please let me know. Same goes for the other parts, okay? Same goes for the other parts, okay? Now for boots, I like steel shoes only because it's super easy to make. It's very cheap to make. You only need to produce iron and then smelt that into steel. So it's very cheap to make, and it's actually very nice to have that. And that's what we have for these. Now for the accessory slot, I only use two types. It's either emerald gold bracelet or gold diamond bracelet. Now these are the only two equipment that I have for the accessory slot, because everything else kind of feels bad to use. Yeah, rubies are bad. Topazes is not a viable option because every single topaz that you have, you will need to produce for platinum longswords. So this is needed. So I almost never use anything else. And also this is jumping into the next section, but topaz is also used for producing energy potions. So your topazes will almost always be used up for these two things. You cannot use topaz for accessories. So topaz is already out. So same goes for this. This is needed for health potions. So amethyst accessories are also out. So it's really only these two that are worth using. Now, rubies are okay, but you kind of need rubies for producing axes. So it's also not an option. So it's really just the only options for accessories is really just emerald and diamond. Now that we went over those accessories, it's time for consumables. Now, consumables are class dependent, except for two. I always put one of each of these. One large health potion and one large energy potion. So going back here, we got the large health potion and large energy potion. Now, you don't have to worry about rarity because the only thing that changes with rarity is the price or the amount of gold that you get when you send it out. So it doesn't matter what rarity it is. Can be red, can be yellow, can be purple, green, blue, or white. It doesn't matter. It does the exact same thing. Like this is 25% max HP healing. This is still max 25% max HP healing. So it doesn't matter what rarity it is as long as it's in the slot. Okay. Now, for plants, reptiles, these are my recommended food items. So extra deluxe fruit plate because stress limit. Okay, stress limit is important. We'll go over that in a bit, but stress limit is important, so always have one of these. And then the other food item is a spaghetti because this is percentage max HP bonus, right? And plants and reptiles have the best HP, so having one of these two will improve their survivability by a lot. Right now, the problem is spaghetti is a tier 5 item. It's a level 5 item. So if you don't have at least level 9, if I'm not mistaken, level 9 Atia, you won't be able to make spaghetti. And spaghetti is actually quite hard to make because of this. So it's multiple levels. So you need noodles, you need beef, and you need tomatoes. And tomatoes is a level 5 item on the foragers field. Level 4 item on the foragers field. So yeah, it's actually quite difficult to produce noodles and spaghetti in general. So the other food item that I would recommend if you wanted to use a more offensive style is the meat pie. Meat Pie increases attack, increases crit chance, and increases crit damage. Now, this is for your DPS classes, which would be the Beast. Okay, let's go in order. Reptile, Bird, Beast, and Dawn. Okay, in that order. So, if you do not want to use a Spaghetti, or if you cannot use Spaghetti on your DPS classes, you can use it, or you can use Meat Pie instead. So, let's go over Reptile here. Oh, this is my best Reptile. And you can use Meat Pie. Now, this is the setup that I use. Spaghetti, water, extra deluxe fruit plate, and then the meat pie. Okay, so this will increase its offense by a lot. So we got max HP and power here. We got attack speed, stress limit, and a lot of good things in this extra deluxe fruit plate. And then this increases attack, crit chance, and crit damage. Right. So these are the options that I use. Now, alternatively, if you want a little bit more stability, because this is crit chance and damage, right? You can also use an energy potion here instead. So that is an option as well. Okay, now those are the equipments that I use. If you are using a mage or a dawn, you can use this instead. Okay, so this is deluxe fried rice. It increases magic attack by 75 and increases magic pierce by 15%. So if you're using a magic attack class like this, instead of using meat pie, use deluxe fried rice instead. Okay. Now, what if you cannot afford to make all of these things? Like, these things are very expensive. They're high-level items. If you cannot produce enough of them, you can use a donut instead. It increases max HP by 350. It's always good to have as a filler. Like, if you do not have the better options, having a donut in its place is always good. Having 350 HP is never a bad thing. Okay, but obviously, if you can put a spaghetti, an extra deluxe food plate, a meat pie, or a deluxe fried rice, those are better options. Okay, this is just a filler if you cannot produce anything else of the better ones. Okay, now that we're done with that, we went through all of the slots. Let's talk about stress limit. Now, stress limit is something. If you play Darkest Dungeon, this is equivalent to the sanity meter. All right, so this is what we're doing. So stress limit reflects the Axie's mental state in battle. The battle will end once this stat hits 0. Now, stress limit is basically the sanity stat in Darkest Dungeon, in that it's an alternate HP bar. Now, if your HP, your run will end if either your health goes to 0 or your stress limit goes to 0. Okay, so stress limit, every time your Axie makes a move, or every time it gets hit, this will lower, the number will go down. And if your Axie gets hit, so your health will also go down. Now, it's important because if you never get hit, there is still a way for the run to end, which is limited by your stress limit. That's why it's very important to make this stat as high as possible. So, for example, you have a team of 3 birds and they have the maximum amount of dodge. They never get hit. Your run will still end because eventually they will run out of stress. The stress limit will eventually go to 0 and the run will end. Now, it's quite easy to update because every single piece of helmet will have stress limit attached to it. Obviously, this is the best because it's a platinum and it's red. Like, there's no better helmet than this one. But if you can't make them, steel helmets are just as good. But the only other way to increase stress limit is by using extra deluxe food plate or anything watermelon based. So those would be food items. The only other items that include watermelon is watermelon, which increases stress limit by 10%, and watermelon slice, which increases stress limit by 5%. Now, obviously, you want all of the benefits of the extra deluxe fruit plate in the slot instead of just stress limit bonus. Now, it's not as much of a problem for plants and dusks, I think. Plants and dusks have the highest stress limit, but it's a very big factor for mechs. Mechs have the lowest stress limit in the game. This guy's level 60, has 5 evolved parts. He only has 575 stress limit. Let's compare it to a plant, this one, which has 3 times It has 3 times the stress limit of a mech. So mechs are super strong. They kill their own teammates by chance, and they also have very low stress limit. They cannot handle a lot. They cannot stay in the fight for too long. Yep. If you're using mechs, make sure you have the best helmets on them because they need all the help they can get. Right. All right. Okay. Now, what are the things you can do to help with stress limit? If your Axie, like I said, it's every action made by the Axie and every time the Axie gets hit. Now, if you have a full team of 3, you are more likely to spread around the damage or the actions done, and the stages will also finish much better or much easier because you have 3 Axies that are attacking. So if you can, always send 3 Axies instead of just one, because that will improve your scores quite a lot because you have a lot more stress limit in total because you have 3 Axies instead of just one, and the enemies will target different targets instead of just the one Axie. All right, so that is the best tip I can give you. Always send in groups of 3 if you want to have a higher score. All right. And that concludes this video guide. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will answer as soon as I can. And if you have any requests for guides like this was a very highly requested guide. So yeah, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments as well. This has been another Gvar's guide. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys. Bye bye.